Hi, Carrie. Thank you. I just heard. All right, so I'm going to escape. Do you have everything you need? We have another visitor. All right. Good night. I didn't make you host. Oops. All right, now it's correct. You're muted. I've been reading your lips. It hasn't been too
Can
bad.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, it's awkward. Okay, yeah, no, it's good now. I can see it. It took a second for it to flip over.
Yeah,
But
it did. But you're now host, so you
yeah,
should.
I can see everything. I have all settings.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
You're on mute.
Hi, we'll get started in a couple minutes. We're just waiting for everyone to get here. Hi, everybody. I thought Scott was coming tonight, but I guess that's not right. I think now that I'm thinking about it, he is away. So we're not going to hold up waiting for him. So let me pull up the agenda and we'll get started in a sec. And I see somebody is here by phone. Do you want to unmute yourself just so we can know who you are for the minutes? Okay. All right. Well, my clock says 7, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Shutesbury Conservation Commission. For the recording, present are Miriam DeFont, Mary David, Robin Harrington, and Beth Wilson from the commission. So the first thing on our agenda is a public meeting for a request for determination of applicability for 41 Lake Drive. Mr. Crossman is here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
So the way we is there somebody else on mute? Okay, May is just background noise. So the way we do this is we'll just take a few minutes. This is going to be pretty brief because it's a simple project. And just let you, just take a couple minutes and explain what you're going to be doing. And then the commissioner may ask you some questions and then we'll move along.
Sounds good. Should I get started?
Yep.
Okay. My family has a cottage on 41 Lake Drive, and our proposed project is to construct a cement patio in the back of our house. Right now, it's mostly dirt, and people track dirt and mud into the house. So we want to put a cement patio out there, and it's going to be 22 by 24. That's our plan. And there'll be minimal excavation. And we're going to put down wire mesh over the whole area. This is our plan. And that'll prevent the cement from cracking and moving around. And so we'll put that in there. And then we're going to have a cement truck back up to our back of the yard and then start pouring it in. And we'll have bales of hay set up to prevent any water and soil from going toward. There's a seasonal runoff nearby us, but we're not expecting really any runoff, but just in case, we're going to put down some bales of hay. And we're either going to do it this fall, but it's kind of late yet right now. So we'll probably want to wait until first thing in the spring to do it, the project.
My recollection is that you're gonna, whatever soil that, or you have, that you excavate, you're gonna just sort of distribute around the yard where you have low spots, is your
Yes,
plan?
yes, that's what we're planning on doing. There's a couple of places and we have like a parking area and there's some roots that are sticking up in the parking area and some holes. And what we'd like to do is put the dirt into a wheelbarrow, and I don't think there's going to be much really, and bring it down and cover the roots and level it, and then seed it heavily and put straw on top to prevent a runoff of the seed in the dirt.
So it looked, and my recollection was there was a little bit of maybe concrete or some paving material already back there, so you're gonna be removing that?
We probably will not remove that just because it's extra work and we got to find a place to put it. So we're going to go over the top of that and then over where the dirt is right now. And the thickest part of the slab will probably be about 5 inches. And where the cement slab is there, which went down in 1938, I think, and they even put rocks in there to spread the cement out back in those days. And so over that, it'll probably be either 3 or 4 inches, but we'll have the steel mesh on top of that too. So it won't, crack and move around.
So, for erosion controls, usually we don't want hay. We usually ask people to use either bales of straw or straw wattles or erosion socks filled with straw. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I said bales of straw. Did I
Yeah,
say bales of hay or something? I meant straw.
okay.
And I don't think we're going to need very many, but we'll put some bales of straw down. And then I'm not sure how soon we can remove it. I think once everything is dried up and settled, I think we can remove the straw. We'll probably put it over the grass seed.
Yeah. Well, usually, the way that we ask people to do it is that, and our preference is an erosion sock because it can stay up for a longer period of time. And that is the limit of work. So you want the erosion sock sort of outside of where the trucks are going to be coming in and out. So
One truck, yeah.
Yeah, or the truck, it would need to be a sort of establishing an area where there wouldn't go beyond that.
Sure.
And it would encompass wherever you're going to be adding soil, because it's going to take a little while for the grass seed to germinate. So usually we want to have the erosion control in place until the grass seed takes hold and things get vegetated again.
Sure, no problem. I'm not familiar with a straw sock, did you say? Is that what you were calling it? I don't know where you get those.
I mean, you can use straw bales if you want. I don't know how many you'd need. It seems like it would be, what you have is an intermittent stream going down the side of your property is what we would call it. So, we want to protect the intermittent stream from any runoff until everything is kind of settled and the work is finished.
Sure.
You can get them at Amherst Farmer Supply. You can get them online. I think some other landscaping places, sometimes you can get them. They're not super easily available in this area, but I know that Amherst Farmer Supply carries them.
The straw socks?
Straw wattles or straw socks, yeah.
Okay, but
you can order them online too.
Okay, does it matter whether I use the straw or the socks?
No, the socks would be filled with straw.
Yeah.
Straw wattles, I think, are just like it's like a rope of straw that's fastened together with, I don't know, wire or I don't know, sure what, probably different kinds. Some of them are biodegradable. So, you can choose what you want. And if you prefer to use straw, as long as the rest of the commission's okay with it, straw bales.
Right, because then we can repurpose it. I use straw every spring when I plant grass seed at my house, and we can use it up at Lake Wyola. Yeah. So I would prefer to use straw if that's all right.
It's all right with me.
That's about it, I guess.
Anybody
have
have any, do you guys want to
questions?
see a site plan or do you have any questions from anybody?
I don't, because I went on the visit, so.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm just wondering how close the work is to the intermittent stream.
Well, I think Miriam did a measurement. Was it 85 feet to the stream?
It was more than 50 feet for sure. I'd have to look at the site. I know it was more than 50 feet.
Right, it was more than 50 feet.
The only thing I was concerned about is that your backyard is that back where you're putting the patio is basically been cut into the hill. And there's like this stone retaining wall that looked like it might give out on at some point in the future. And are you doing anything to reinforce that or?
Well, the
There-
only thing that we might do is there's some loose rocks that have fallen into like sort of way in the back there. We might just pile those back up, but much of that wall's been there 30 years and, you know, it hasn't fallen down yet. And there's never been any like sand or anything coming out of the rocks. That's never been a problem.
That's good. And we are not authorizing any tree removals. I know you had talked about tree removals, but that is not part of this.
Right. There's no need for any tree removal in the backyard. There was a dead tree out in the front next to the road that we were concerned about. That was pretty much the only one that we talked about.
Okay. And are you proposing to remove that tree as part of this?
No, no.
Oh, I mean, you could. I'm not saying you can't. I just was.
Well, I
wondering.
don't know. Do we have permission to remove a dead tree that's about to fall on the wires?
Well, we would give you permission under this permit, if that's,
Sure, yeah.
And I thought we said the tree was dead, then it should come down.
yeah. And so it would be no stumping. We would just want you to cut it off, but not remove the stump, the.
Sure,
root.
sure. Yeah, I would cut it off. I would do a flush cut.
Yeah, flush cut. Yeah.
And some people think that's flush, but to me, that's flush about 1 inch. I would try to keep it to 1 inch.
Yeah,
in
you can
height.
grind the stump down, that's fine. We just don't, we don't we ask people not to remove the roots.
Right, yeah, we have no plan of moving the.
So it's
too
just
much
that
work.
one tree, it's just that one tree, right?
That's
It's
all we're talking about right now.
Okay.
you
So
know.
if, you come back to us in the future, if you're looking at other trees, that you're looking for.
Sure. Sure, no problem.
The only thing I guess the question for the commission is, do we want to ask for a replacement tree?
Well, there's a row of pine trees right now, and they're very crowded as it is along the road. If anybody knows Lake
Yeah.
Drive there, 41 Lake
Yeah.
Drive, if you look at it, there's about 6 trees in a space about 40 feet long.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think there's enough trees right there.
Yeah, there's quite a few trees. I'd like to
Yeah.
make some room in there in the future. So, but we're only talking about that one dead tree right now.
Okay. Well, I'm asking the question just because we've developed a policy about looking for replacement trees when people are moving trees in the buffer zone. So I just want to, have that discussion and maybe hear from the commissioners, if anybody has any requests for
Sure.
Beth,
Um,
Robin.
No,
No,
I
I-
agree. I didn't think there's plenty of trees.
Yeah, I didn't go on the site visit, so I just take Mary's word for it that there's plenty of trees.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, if that is all there is, are there any public comments or input from other non-commissioners? Okay. So do we have enough information to close the public meeting? All right, somebody want to make a motion to close the public meeting?
Motion to close the public meeting for 41 Lake Drive.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Hey, David,
Aye.
Font, aye, Harrington,
I,
Wilson.
Hi.
So, Mr. Crossman, now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the permit. And so at this stage, you're welcome to just listen, but we can't kind of take any more comments from you.
Yes.
because the hearing's closed.
Now,
So
will you send me a permit or
oh,
how
we
does
will
this work?
absolutely we will send it to you by email, and we are going to send it by usually certified mail to your mailing address.
Very
whatever.
good.
And
Perfect.
so you'll get that permit. And what it's going to have is a number of conditions. So read them over. If you have any questions about those conditions, give us a call, give Carrie a call, or reach out to me, and I'm happy to talk it over with you and explain anything that's not clear.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. So let me.
I'm gonna leave now, okay? Can I
Oh, you
leave?
don't have to. You're welcome to stay, but sure, you can leave.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so here's the special conditions, and we're gonna alter this because there's a tree removal. Okay. So here's the conditions of the intermittent stream and bordering vegetated wetland buffer zone. And proposes one, here, the applicant seeks to remove one dead pine tree. Okay, near the road. Okay, so this is looking all right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, so conditions. So either staked straw wattles or
Bales of straw.
straw bales.
Yep.
No hay. Erosion controls must be placed along between all down gradient resource areas in the project area. So wherever there's going to be any work done, there needs to be kind of a line between the work area and where that intermittent stream is.
Sure, sure.
And then now this is the tricky part, once you've put those erosion controls in place, before you can begin the project, so you have to put the erosion controls in place and then take some photographs. And can you send are you able, do you have a phone
Yes.
where you can email
Yeah.
photographs? So
Yeah.
instead of a site visit, what we're comfortable with usually is just having you give us some photographs of the erosion controls to this email address, and then we will respond and let you know if they're okay. As long as we say okay, then you can do the work. But until you hear from us, you can't begin the work. So
Okay,
usually
sure.
we respond usually within 48 hours. So you try to get the erosion controls up a few days before your cement truck comes. And the erosion controls are the limit of work, which means no work goes beyond that.
Yeah.
No major changes shall be made to the pre-existing grade. Pre-existing vegetation will be preserved to the maximum amount possible.
Sure.
One compromised, we call them compromised pine tree may be removed, but not stumped. And then this should probably be a separate condition. All material, including slash, should be removed from the what do we want to say? Removed, should be disposed of outside of any area, should be disposed of outside of any area subject to the jurisdiction of the commission. What that means is that you can't put the debris in the wetland or the stream. You'd have to take it off property and dispose of it somewhere in an area away from any wetlands.
We might dry it out and burn it in the campfire area,
Yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, people do that all over the lake. They have little campfires.
But if it's the branches and the slash, not the wood itself, usually people, but whatever.
Yeah, we can split it and dry it out.
do you, commissioners, do we want to have any conditions about where it's stored or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, so applicant shall maintain or repair erosion controls as needed until the work is completed and the site is stabilized and revegetated. If there's going to be any change in the plan or you need to do any additional work, you'd need to come back to us and see whether or not you need to apply for a new permit or whether we can modify and give you permission to do whatever needs to be done. All construction materials collected and stored may only be stockpiled or collected in areas that are protected by erosion controls and as far away from the BVW as practicable. Debris should be removed from the site by the time the construction is completed. If there's any piles of material like, if there's any gravel or other materials like that, we ask people to tarp it so that it doesn't erode, just like we asked that pile of material that was down by the road on your
Yep.
property that LWA had left. We wanted that tarped or removed. And then for grass reseeding, usually we ask for a conservation mixed grass seed, which is a particular kind of grass seed you can buy in a number of places. You can order it online. Commissioners, everybody good with that?
Yep.
Yep.
And what we ask the applicant to do is once you've picked out what grass seed, if you could take a picture of the label and send it to us as a photograph before you, ideally, what I have here is within 30 days of the issuance of this determination. The reason for this, and I know it's a little early if you're not going to do the work, but it just becomes a little challenging for us to keep track of these conditions if it's going to happen like at some future date when the work is done or when you're doing the work, because these permits are good for 3 years. So
Oh, great.
I just would prefer, commissioners, if you're okay with it, that he make that decision now while it's sort of fresh in our minds so we can kind of check that off our list. Is that okay with everybody?
Yep.
Okay.
Is there something called conservation mixed
Yes,
grass
you
seed?
can-
I've never heard of
You
it.
can Google it and there are places where you can order by mail order. You can get it. I don't know if you can get it at places. You can't get it at places like Lowe's or Home Depot. I believe you can get it at Amherst Farmer Supply.
Well, I'm going to go there first.
You can call them and see if they have it in stock. And they might have it at Hadley Garden Center. I'm not sure about garden centers, but you can definitely get it online.
Okay.
And then, after you've spread the dirt around and you've seeded, you know how to do this, but we would like you to mulch it with straw to keep the grass seed from washing away and the soil from washing away until.
Sure.
Okay. And then you may have to reseed it until it's all revegetated up to 80,
Yeah.
which is really what we look for.
Okay. Yeah. Reseed, overseed, and
Yeah, all
what's
that.
the other thing?
Okay. Is anybody have any commissioners, any other additions or?
Nope.
No,
Sounds good.
Okay, so for determinations, I've got the forms fill out. We have to issue 2 permits, one under the Wetlands Protection Act and one under the Shutesbury bylaws. So we're under the Wetlands Protection Act. This would be I would think a negative number 3. Right? With condition. And then under the bylaw, it's a little different. The bylaw permits is laid out a little differently, but that one is it's a positive determination because there's work in the buffer zone and then a negative 3. So there's 2 determinations on the, okay.
Yep.
Right, do I have everybody's permission to sign digitally for you?
Yes.
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 All right, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve the determinations of applicability for 41 Lake Drive under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Shutesbury bylaw. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Stefan, I, Harrington,
I,
Wilson.
Hi,
Okay. Well, thank you for your time.
Well,
And we
thank you.
will, we'll send it to you as an email and we'll also mail it to you. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us.
Very good. Thank you all.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Bye.
All right. Let me find my agenda. It's disappeared on me for a sec. Hang on. Where is it? Okay. Here we go. All right. So next on the agenda, just an FYI that the town has posted to hire a new land use clerk. And Carrie is hopefully going to be moving on to greener horizons, brighter horizons sometime in the winter, I think is the hope. And we're hoping that if we can hire a new clerk, there'd be some overlap between Carrie and the new person so that there could be some orientation.
mhm.
So
We're going to get an opportunity to be part of the interviews.
So the way they've done it in the past is that they have had an interviewing committee with the 3 chairs for the 3 boards. So, and Becky usually.
Okay.
So, so that's been the usual procedure, but we haven't had any discussion about how it's going to be done this time around. And I haven't heard whether we've received any applications. That nothing's been passed along. So the application period was closing November 1st. I was a little surprised to find out about it sort of halfway through the month, but I'm assuming it was posted for a month. Is that right, Carrie?
I'm not sure how long it was posted for. I thought it was posted kind of fairly recently, so I haven't heard that there was a deadline like that.
Okay. Well, it says a November 1st deadline, but I think that's going to have to probably be extended because I'm sure there isn't going to be enough time. And
Yeah, the only thing I heard from Becky today was that they haven't received anything yet.
Okay. I had reached out to Becky because there is a job posting list on MACC's website. And historically, we've also posted this position there, and I didn't hear back from Becky, so I just took the liberty of sending the job posting to MACC to get it posted, because that may be a place where people will look, who are looking for jobs in the land use world. So I guess we will see how this pans out, and hopefully we'll get some applicants or a good person who we hopefully that'll happen quickly. Did you want to say more, Mary, about the interviewing process or the selection process?
No, I just wanted to see if we were going to participate in it. Since we've added a lot of new things for the people to help with,
I'm fine as long as they're okay with it. The town's okay with sharing any resumes and getting feedback from the commission. But we can't really talk about the applications in open meetings because it's not a public process, the interviewing process, I don't think.
That's fine to review.
But I can give people an update, I guess, on where we stand. But I think I need to set up a meeting with the other chairs about this process, because when we were interviewing for Carrie's position, we had different planning board and ZBA chairs. Who's the chair now of the ZBA, Mary?
There is not one. That will be
There's-
decided on November 2nd.
Okay. All right. Well, let me know.
I will.
What that is, but I think it would be good to get, I'm going to try and set up a meeting with the chairs just so we can, we don't communicate or coordinate amongst ourselves, but I feel like before hiring, it's be a good idea to just get some feedback about what everybody's needs are and priorities before we go into reviewing any applications. Okay, moving on. We've got an emergency certification for 64 Cushman Road. I got contacted by Nate Hurd, who got an assessment from an arborist because during the construction for his geothermal wells and then that dry well that they had to build, several trees' root structure got badly damaged. And an arborist gave an assessment that it was 5 trees and that they were not likely to survive. So he was looking to remove 2 pine trees and leave them as snags. Snag is where you just cut off and leave a stand of the trunk. And then there were 3 oak trees right near the driveway that he was going to remove. While I was out there, what I also learned was that the dry well isn't really functioning the way it was originally hoped it would function. And water is now bubbling to the surface and there's a little ponding area developing. And I don't know what that's going to turn into. It might be a new lake. Hopefully it'll eventually, if it gets big enough, it'll drain downhill into Adams Brook because it's just a forest between that area and the brook, but it's kind of slopes down. So eventually, if it's big enough, it'll have its own natural place. Nate talked about wanting to plant some native wetland plants around this new little emergent wetland that's been created. So I gave him the tree replacement policy that we adopted. And as part of the emergency certification, asked him to come back with a planting plan.
Okay.
Because that's part of our regulations now is that, we're asking for replacement for tree removals so that there's no net loss. And since the trees that he's removing are very near to his driveway, I shared that, he could propose putting in shrubs if he doesn't want to have trees growing so close to his house. That would be an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll come back with that. So any questions?
No.
Okay.
Is there any potential for erosion to occur from, you're saying that the water is going to eventually make its way down to the brook?
It's gonna
I
do
mean-
that eventually. If
Right.
it gets big enough, or, I think one of his hopes was to plant some wetland plants and see if that will help kind of hold the ground down and maybe soak up some of the water.
Yeah.
But it is a trick. It's an artesian well and
Right. It's crazy.
it is crazy.
I feel like maybe when he comes to us with the planting plan, maybe we do a site visit too. I would like to just see what it looks like basically how much water is coming out of the well and what
Yes.
it looks like for the future.
Yeah, eventually it will make its way downhill and maybe he'll need to armor it. So that, you don't get sediment eroding, but it might be a new stream, new
I
pond.
like the idea of planting, around it and whatnot to help just soak up some of the water. That's
Yep.
good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep, and he was very, very open to that.
Did you have any conversations with Dandelion about geotech causing this?
Well, I didn't have any,
Or not
I didn't have
geotech,
any
geothermal.
conversation with Dandelion. I'm assuming he's had some conversations because I'm sure they're not thrilled about it. But I don't think there's anything that can be done to stop it at this point. It's kind of a runway.
Right. No, I'm
Wait.
just curious because it seems like Dandelion's done a few projects in Shutesbury, and they're also doing quite a few in Amherst, and I'm just wondering if they've had this happen before.
I don't think they've had this in this, I don't think they were expecting this. They were expecting that they were going to be able to grout it, and they were unable to grout it. I don't know if the system will perform as designed without the grouting in place. I'm not sure, but that's not our problem. But yeah, it's risky. It's just a fluky, weird thing that they tapped into an aquifer that was under pressure, a deep aquifer. Okay, so yes, we'll set up a site visit when he comes with the planting plan. Sounds like a plan. All right, moving on. Draft minutes for July 27th. Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
Yeah, it looks good to me.
Great.
It was a long meeting. So thank you, Carrie. You did more than we had only contracted for you to do half of it, but you did a little bit more than half. I was grateful.
Yeah, I split it where it left off in a better spot just to make it easy.
I appreciate that. Okay. All
So
right.
motion to approve the 7:27 minutes.
Second. I'll
Second.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Font, aye, Harrington.
Abstain because I wasn't there.
That's right, and Wilson.
Aye.
All right. All right, next we have the conservation restriction for the West Quabbin Woodlands Conservation Area. It has taken 8 months or longer for this thing to get approved by the state. That's crazy, but they finally did. So the next step is that there have to be local signatures. So I have to sign it on behalf of the commission, and then the select board has to sign it, and it has to be notarized. Each signature page has to be notarized. And then I believe it goes to the state to get their final signatures, and then it has to get recorded. Bridget from Kestrel is willing to go take it to the registry and do the recording for us, which is lovely. So this is CR language we've already approved, but I'm just looking for the commission to do a final approval.
I make a motion for final approval of the West Quabbin Woodlands Conservation Restriction.
Okay,
Second.
Okay, that David second. Okay, David,
Aye.
Font, aye, Harrington,
I
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, next we have the CR monitoring report, the annual CR monitoring report for Sumner Mountain Conservation Area, conservation restriction. So we hired Charlie Eisman to do the CR visit, and he sent a report. I hope everybody's had a chance to look at it. Didn't sound like there were any major concerns.
no.
Okay. All right. I move that we approve the CR monitoring report for Sumner Mountain CR. Second.
Second.
David,
Aye.
DeFont, aye, Harrington,
I
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, next, we got a monitoring report for Lotto 32 BVW restoration from Ward Smith. I don't know if you guys looked at it, but he had recommendations for some shrubs to be replanted. Because there were some areas where I think there was some recommendation for reseeding because there were heavy rains and some of the grass seed didn't take.
Great.
At least they didn't have to water anything. So I think what we need to do before winter sets in is we should do another site visit. So we can take a look at it. So I wanted to try to get that set up tonight when we get down to site visit scheduling. So we'll put that on the list. I've got a few things we have to schedule for site visits. All right. Any questions or comments about the restoration report?
No,
I have not heard anything about when a notice of intent is going to be coming, but I would imagine it's going to be submitted pretty soon because I think we're under some scheduling, construction schedule pressures.
Mhm.
So, all right. Then updates, I just wanted to give the commission update about the emergency certification for Shore Drive for the culvert replacement. There was some confusion that emerged on Saturday when the work happened on Monday, and the emergency certification required a 48-hour notice. And we got contacted by a resident on Shore Drive who was concerned by Saturday morning that residents had not been notified. And so I reached out to emergency management and the town, and Becky sent out a townwide email announcement.
Did you
Yep.
get that? Because I didn't get that.
I got it. Yep.
I got it.
Okay.
I don't know, Mary, you're on Elwek. They didn't want you to have it. You live on Shore Drive. You can't get it. So anyway, it was a little bit of a kerfuffle because there was some concern about residents not getting enough notice. And I learned of this on the 19th when they emailed us that they were going to begin the work. And I just assumed they were going to go notify people as soon as possible. But they didn't. And so it was very inconvenient. People were finding out at the last minute. And I think a lesson learned for me, if this happens again, and I'm in the position of having to draft the EC, is that I'm going to require more advance notice because, it happened, the work was on a Monday. So, notifying people on a Saturday is not necessarily very helpful. People need probably more notice. So maybe 2 business days or something, or a longer period. If a road's going to be closed like that. Okay. Next, we've got updates for the Locks Pond culvert replacement. Mary and I went out and did a site visit today. Mary, you want to share your thoughts?
Oh, looks good. They got the new culvert in. They've got a little bit of it filled over the top. They've got cement on the side that's drying. They were hoping to get some of the other erosion controls out of the way, and hopefully by the end of the day tomorrow have the bypass removed and the water flowing back naturally through it. And still think they'll get done by the middle of November for having the road paved and everything. So it looked like it was moving right along. It is quite impressive to look at it.
The only
That's
thing
awesome.
that was confused, that I had a question about, was that I remember during the public hearing for the permit that there was a lot of discussion about ensuring that there was a thalweg, a manufactured, kind of constructed thalweg in the channel, in the culvert. And I did not see a thalweg constructed. What I saw was a fairly level base of kind of excavated material. I mean, it looked like soil and rocks, but it didn't look like river rock. It wasn't like a bed of river rock, which was kind of what I was expecting, that would have sort of a natural defined channel to it. And eventually it'll create its own channel, but I am a little concerned about that. And I have not had a chance to go back and look at the permit designs, but I do remember that I believe the permit required that there be a thalweg, and I did not see what looked like a thalweg.
Well, are they done really? I mean, it sounds
Yeah,
like
they're done with they're done with that part of it. Because
Mm.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, he said he was going to go. They were going with what was there.
Mm.
Should I pull up the design? Do we want to look at it so we can, if we have some comments, we can. What do you want to do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I wasn't at the site visit, so I don't know what it looks like, but
It looks pretty flat. Let me see if I can pull up the site plans, approved plans.
I didn't really expect more stones in there, so,
Okay.
and it might have gone right over my head.
well, and like you were saying, I think when the water starts to flow through, it's gonna create its own channel.
Mhm.
Hard to tell in this design. Hold on, let me see if I can pull it up. Oh. Yeah, let me see if I can get the cross section to show up. Yeah, here we go. Let me show you guys this. This is what I'm talking about. And I believe if we go to the order of conditions, it specifically mentions a thalweg. So this is just the site plan, and I'm going to try and, can you see the, so I guess what he was saying is that the only rocks that they are expecting was around these drains. And then natural stream bed material.
Yeah, that's what it pretty much looks like now.
I guess I thought there was going to be, you know, that there would be like a bank of rock on each side. So there would be kind of a channel, but it's not what's happened. Let me look at the.
Why would you want a channel if and not use the whole space for water to go through?
So that it's more mimicking natural conditions, what you'd see in a stream bed. Let me go through the order of conditions. So in the order of conditions, no discharge, dewatering prior to construction. Maybe I was wrong about it. So I'm looking. Sorry, I'm looking through the completed stream channel within the replacement culvert shall have a clearly defined thalweg. That's what it says.
I guess I don't know. I'd have to see the site to see what they've placed there, you know.
Yeah, let me see if I can, if I took a picture, if I can put up a picture. Let me check.
It looks just like that diagram. There's just, it's just dirt with just those stones around the edge right there, not all the way through.
Yeah, it's it was dark, so it's hard to get a picture inside the culvert. What I would just say is it's flat. It looks like flat dirt. And it looks like flat dirt is what it looks like. About
dirt, or is it like dirt or sort of, you know, sand and cobbles and stuff? Is it a mix of things, or is it?
Well, hard to know what's in there. It looks, I mean, dirt, sand.
It looks like the rest of the
It's part of
in the pre-stream where the water is not right now. It looks like the same thing, and I thought he said they used some of that in it.
Can you see this? Do you see how it's flat? No.
Right. Yeah, I think, I mean, personally, I think once the water starts going through, it's definitely going to move stuff around. I'm actually hoping that there'll still actually be a little bit of bank on either side once the water starts going through, that there's not so much water that it just basically fills the entire culvert, because the idea is to allow wildlife to be able to walk through potentially on the edges, you know, so I think the water will just create the channel. It's going to be pretty powerful, the water that comes
It will
through.
be.
So.
Yeah, I think the water eventually will. Yeah.
Especially during the drawdown, you know, when they're having more increased flow.
Yeah.
Steve, hi, Steve. You want to make a comment? Steve
Yeah,
Sullivan?
that's not just dirt that they put in there. That's not the fill that they brought up to Peters, and then we're bringing it back where they're using that on the sides.
Yeah.
of The banks, that is super clean bank run gravel that they put in
Is
there.
that-
It does have it has small stones in it, but
Okay.
but I want to just, the bank run is super clean. It's not, doesn't have any clay or anything like that in it.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Sounds good.
Okay, all right, well, we'll just let it go. So anyway, it looked good, and I'm glad the project is moving along, and they're saying that they might actually open the road up by like the 17th of November, which is crazy fast.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going
great.
pretty fast. Like I said, by tomorrow, if they're on track, the whole bypass system will be gone and the water will be naturally flowing in, and the rest of their work will be filling in and patting it down and paving the road, so.
All
Good.
right. Okay, so moving on, and Becky confirmed that the plan is for the drawdown to begin November 1st. So the 678 Pratt Corner Road, the enforcement order, they were supposed to give us a monitoring report, I think by the 1st of September, and we didn't get it. So I contacted them and they said that we will be getting it forthwith. So we need to set up a site visit. So when we do our list of site visit scheduling, we need to take a look at it. Because the enforcement order said we were going to do inspections twice a year in May and October. So we're a little behind the schedule. 27 January Hills Road. I don't know if you remember that there's an enforcement order outstanding on that property. Do you guys remember this one?
Mhm.
So, we had gone back, and I think it was last October, we met with the landowner and Chris Stoddard from Stoddard Engineering, and they come up with a new design for stormwater on the property, as well as doing some repair to the driveway. And she was supposed to get back to us for a site visit in the spring, and we didn't hear back from her. So I followed up again, and I had a conversation with Ellen, the landowner, this week, and the work hasn't been done. She wants to propose a new solution to her driveway. This summer, apparently, there has been a lot of erosion on her driveway. It's apparently a mess. And so she is looking to have a different plan than what was originally discussed. What she wants to do is sacrifice a parking area down at the bottom of her driveway and put in a more substantial stormwater feature and redo the driveway and pave it with asphalt, because she's just having too much difficulty with erosion and gravel.
Mm.
So she also, there's a tree she would like removed that is near her house, or actually it's not near the house. There's a tree she would like to have removed. She has not had an arborist look at it, so it's not clear that it's a hazard tree. It's just a tree that she would like removed. So, in thinking about all of this, my thought about it is that this is like a lot more than what we originally were addressing with the enforcement order. The enforcement order is really a very small piece of where there had been, some fill that had been pushed over into a wetland. This is a much bigger kind of comprehensive redoing. So my suggestion is that we advise her that she would need to submit a notice of intent for all of this,
Yeah.
rather than doing it under the enforcement order. I also feel like, we've given her basically 2 years of time to try to do the restoration work. At this point, I think if she's really motivated and wants to get this done, that's great. But I think it should happen under an application.
I agree.
And she's having Chris Stoddard do the engineering anyway, so she's gonna have an engineer involved. Oh, cat, sorry, cat's tearing things up. She's gonna be getting a new engineered plan anyway, so, with that in mind, it seems like that would be the best route forward, and then we could dismiss the enforcement order with the order of conditions.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Yep.
So you're okay with me giving her that guidance?
yes.
Yeah.
All right. If she says, no, thank you, I'm not interested in submitting a notice of intent, then I think we probably would want to meet with her and have a timetable for, what the options would look like. I mean, there was a design that was approved by the commission.
But it sounds like she's not doing that. She's changing it. And usually the conditions say, if you change something, you have to resubmit. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what hers say,
but that was an enforcement order. She never submitted, it wasn't an application, it was an enforcement order. So she was doing restoration at our demand. So it wasn't an application. So, she doesn't have to do it. If she doesn't want to do an NOI, we can't make her do one. But we also don't have to approve what she wants. Hopefully it'll be, she'll be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
If she's not, I'll ask her to come to a meeting and we can talk about it.
Yeah.
She's living in Netherlands right now, so the timing is a little tough for meetings because she's in a different time zone, but okay. I think we should go and take a look at the properties. So my suggestion was that we put that on our list of site visits. Since, she's saying there's been a lot of erosion, maybe we should take a look at it and see what it looks like. Okay. All right. And my thought about it for the tree removal is that she get an assessment from an arborist.
Yeah. I mean, so what did we originally require to do under the enforcement order?
Well,
Do you
it was a
remember?
gravel driveway, and I believe she was going to put a small detention basin, is my recollection, down at the bottom of her driveway off the parking area. And it was an area where the driveway was eroding into the BVW. But there was an area halfway up the driveway where we had concerns because there was a crushed culvert. I don't know if you remember that. We found this buried culvert. So the solution was not to restore the culvert, but to do this other stormwater feature that Chris Stoddard thought would work. But it sounds like they're now coming to the realization that the gravel driveway is not working. It's too steep a grade and they just need to pave it.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very steep driveway.
I think sometimes with enforcement orders, we can say, well, you haven't done what we required you to do under this enforcement order. We're requiring you to actually come back to another meeting, and then we can, at the meeting, discuss with her what she'd like to do. And then, almost under the enforcement, say, we're requiring you to do a notice of intent for that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do that anyway, because she's asking to do something that wasn't part of the enforcement order. In some ways, this is all new, the paving of the driveway and this new detention basin is in a different area than was approved under the restoration plan that we gave her permission for. So this is kind of a new thing. So I think we could say that we want an NOI.
Yeah. I think so too.
Sounds like it's enough work that they.
I think so. And it's an area that I wouldn't want to do this under an RDA. I think a notice of intent would be more appropriate.
Yeah, if she's paving that whole driveway, it's going to include a lot of drainage proposals.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a tricky spot
Yeah,
for many years. Just, there's been, as just to remind everybody, this is like the third or fourth enforcement order on this property.
Hmm.
I think it's a third. Okay. All right, so moving on. I tried to follow up with DP about the West Pelham Road enforcement issues. And I saw that Mary
Did
Grove.
you skip one?
What?
244 Baker
Yeah, we're
Road.
gonna
is
get
next?
to that. I had forgotten to put this in. I just wanted to give people an update because it happened today. So I talked with Mark Stinson about it. And Mary Grover tried to call me and I couldn't pick up. So I'm gonna try and reach out to her. But I got a letter from the Pelham Conservation Commission, which I have not opened, sitting over on my bookcase. If you want to hold on a second, I'll go get it and I can read it to you. If you just want to hold on a second, get it. Be right back.
Thank you, Mary David. I'm sorry, but yeah, she'll just forget it.
I'm sorry, I can't find it. There was a letter that came from the Pelham Conservation Commission that Janice Stone dropped off at our house. So I think it was just a letter of concern about the enforcement issues. And I think that there's kind of a lack of clarity about that dumping site on West Pelham Road and that turnaround. But I don't believe that DEP is taking any enforcement action on that. So the question is, and it appears to be in Shutesbury, even though the sign says otherwise. So the question is, do we want to follow up with the landowner? Do we want to go back out and meet with the landowner and take a look at that site? The landowner is saying that that wasn't his dumping, that he didn't dump the debris there.
So did we get anything back from DEP that said anything about what they plan on doing?
No, and I was told that they wouldn't necessarily tell us what they're going to do, because until they would not be keeping us informed. So I did ask.
Don't we need that information before we can decide whether we're going to do anything?
Yeah, what I asked was for some clarification that they are definitely not addressing the issue on the turnaround. And so I think that's why Mary Grover was calling me, was to give me that feedback. But again, I haven't heard, I didn't get to take the call today. So I'm hoping to talk with her tomorrow. But from what I understand, the enforcement is ongoing with 576 for the other violations. And yeah, we're not in the loop.
I mean, I'd be fine adding to our site visit list, going and looking at that turnaround area. But to me, there's a lot of other sort of turnaround areas or road that, I don't know, it's hard for me to say that, to pinpoint that on to a landowner. It seems like anybody could just pull into that pull off and throw stuff out of their car or dump something there. It's just not something to go after. I feel like the property owner. It's more the fact that
it's probably unlikely that he would have gone and dumped in that particular location. He has a lot of other land he could dump things in.
Right.
So I don't think it was him.
Yep.
There is, and there's some information floating out there that it possibly could be a landowner in Pelham that did it, that who's in a lives on that road. But again, you know, that would be going and trying to track down somebody who lives in Pelham.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it could be anybody. It could be a landscaping company. It could be
Okay. All
anybody.
right. So we're not going to pursue it.
No, I mean, it's kind of thing, I guess if I'm driving through, I might just take a look to see what's going on. I mean, things like that, you wish you could like post a sign that just says no
Wasn't I
dumping.
with you? Weren't you with me when your car broke down, Beth? Or
Yes,
you were
That's
too
right
upset. You
spot when
saw
my
it.
car broke down.
You saw it.
I know, but I don't really remember. I think I was worried about my car.
You were having trauma about your car. You were in. I get it. Okay.
My car needed to be towed.
Oh God. That's terrible. That was weird. Okay. All right. So we will pass on that one. Okay. So 244 Baker Road. And I think I saw that landowners here. Are you here?
We're here.
Hi. Who's there?
Yes, we
Yeah.
are present.
Both of us.
Hi. Welcome.
Peyton Javinsky and Brandon Eugenio.
Hi, welcome. Thank you for coming. So we did our site visit with you and see that the debris was removed and you've updated the erosion sock, which is great. Thank you. And I think we set up another site visit for, I don't have my calendar in front of me. When did we schedule it for? Next Monday?
It's Tuesday. Sorry, you are correct. It's
Okay.
Monday.
It's
I believe
Tuesday,
at 12.
12:30. Okay, so we're going to see you next Tuesday.
Which day is that
This
now?
straw,
Say it.
I have you marked down as the
Tuesday,
6th of November
Yeah, the 6th of November,
on my
right?
calendar.
Yeah, I think we
Yes.
did the 6th of
Or
November.
That's a Monday.
Okay, so we are doing Monday the 6th. All right, at 12:30. Yep, I see it. So we'll come back and take a look at that point. Did you have any questions for us?
I just wanted to notify you. I laid the straw down, and I just gotta put the stake. The stakes are stakes up. That's it.
Great.
I just hadn't had time today.
Okay.
Ran out of time. The beavers were active at like 5 o'clock, trying to just. So I was more concerned for people's safety in a sense, and my safety. Like I don't need them trying to attack me. That they're not supposed to be out at that time. Kind of the one beaver that was out. So.
Okay. All right. So I think, you know, my recommendation to the commission would be that we just keep this sort of in a monitoring phase for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Until the 6th, and then we can close it. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
How
I
long
think,
is the oh, I'm sorry.
So
sorry,
is
what?
highway department here now about, do they have a schedule for cleaning out that big culvert there?
Steve
Steve?
here. Steve, do you want to?
We don't have a schedule. We just remove sticks and things as we see a need for. We don't just go there and take out the fistful of leaves. We do when there's something actually impeding the water, we'll touch it. Otherwise, we leave it alone.
Yeah, you might just want to check that a couple of times to see if the erosion controls they put in place are actually working. And I do think a lot of leaves and stuff are going to fall in there.
Oh, the erosion could, yeah, they're working great.
Thanks for helping with that. I understand you helped. Thank you.
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Unless the guy tomorrow.
All right. And so the, you know, and as we talked about when we met with you last week is that, you know, you had expressed some concerns about the spillway and it needing repairs, and that would require an application to the commission. You'll require a notice of intent to do repairs on the dam.
Okay, so I would have to repair the dam, or what? Can I just take the rock out so nobody gets hurt trying to step on that? I mean, instead of repairing it.
It's just a broken piece
It's
of
just
concrete
sitting there anyways. It's not. It shakes right back and forth. Like that's where my concern is. You got a beaver that's getting sick, but it's definitely not safe for anybody to walk on. Nor has it really been flowing properly. I definitely had I watched that thing flow though with the 3 tunnels I had, and I was out there cleaning it, and I watched it all night when we got that 5 inches of rain just on my house when it flooded. And that's where I apologize. I did it without your permission, but I had tried to figure out what steps to take. Because I was already got video from another neighbor that this house has been underwater. And that's kind of nerve wracking to me, considering there's a $25,000 heating unit underneath this house. It's not above it like it normally would be, because they filled this attic full of the blow-in installation. So I don't know. I just bought the property. I just know it's underneath there.
What kind of heating unit is it?
It's some brand new electrical heating unit. It's all each room is controlled individually, and it's underneath the house. So I can't have that water exceed the up to that level to where it's going to go underneath my house, because it's going to just destroy that. So in a sense, I need some preventative conservation here so we don't have to spend the $25,000 to repair it, or $30,000. Like I have an infant out here. It's either I have to get the chimney repaired on this house because the bricks are spotted and somebody out here cleaning it, because I don't know the last time it's been cleaned, or I have to protect that electrical heating unit for my son. That's why I'm concerned about the water and the flooding over here.
So, what I think we're trying to say is, that, it's not, we can't tell you what you need to do to protect your house. It's not kind of our job to design that protection. But if you have a proposal, you can apply for a permit to go through with that work. If there's work that
you were saying I would need to put a permit to repair the rock. Well, can I just take the rock out with my hands? I can pick that rock up. It's already broken, so instead of just repairing it, can I just remove it?
So it's not a hazard.
So it's not a safety hazard to anybody. I'm not asking to destroy it.
I can't really advise you. I don't know what the consequences of doing that are. I don't know what I wouldn't want.
You were just saying to pull a permit to fix it.
I wouldn't want to advise you to do, excuse me, I wouldn't want to advise you to do something without knowing for sure that it wouldn't, for example, cause the dam or the sides of the dam to get more deteriorated. So I don't think I have enough information to say what you should or shouldn't do with that dam.
It's not really doing anything. The water's just flowing all around it and underneath it anyway. So it's just a safety hazard.
There's somebody he can contact to look at that,
Yeah, you
to advise him.
You could get a consultant to, I think you probably need to get an engineer to take a look at it. I mean, it's really kind of outside of our purview. You really need an engineer to help you figure out.
I can tell you that the contractor that inspected this house told me to dig out the fucking mound of dirt that was in front of that, so this house would never flood. So that's why I started to do it also, and thus when this house almost flooded, and I was trying to figure out from the town who's responsible and what do I do here, because you told me once I remove the beavers now, then I can reply to remove the whole dirt mound. So as of November 1st, I've already tried to call and get a trapper over here. So once I remove the beavers, then I'll come and handle to remove that.
Steve, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, so what's going to happen if that little piece of broken concrete gets moved? It's just going to increase the size of the spillway by about 16 to 18 inches. But it is a broken piece that's not connected to the spillway, and the water does go under it and around it.
Okay. Is it gonna
That's why I
affect?
kind of just
Wait, excuse me,
Can I just-
please, just hang on a second. Usually we ask people to kind of talk one at a time. Steve,
I'm sorry, Mayor.
is there any concern about the culvert, the road culvert with that?
Oh, not at all. I mean, Brandon's right, though. If somebody was to step on that, they're gonna either make it fall to the left or to the right, and it's either gonna go into the pond or it's gonna go into the spillway, and someone is gonna get hurt.
Well, I would say it's not our job to tell you what you can do.
Can I ask a question? Who owns the spillway and who owns if there is an actual little concrete dam there? Is that the property owner or is that within the right of way? Is that the town's?
I think it's the property owner.
Okay. But the town had put in a beaver deceiver or something that we actually put that in?
The town did.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have been trying to call the town to figure out who's responsible
Responsible for
for
that.
cleaning out the beaver dam and the beaver deceiver, sorry, and the waterfall way, and that's how this all first started and how we first got into contact with you guys and how you started your visits was we tried to contact you to figure out who was responsible for cleaning it, but we were told many different things by different town members, so that's where we got the confusion of it, and that's why, to protect our house from flooding, we dug the trenches. But that's where we are a little confused, because Miriam, just like you had just said, we're responsible for protecting our home from flooding, but we can't remove the mounds or the danger of flooding from our home.
But then you said it is our problem to maintain it, but we can't maintain it. So, I mean, yes, I see
We're just
Sheena's
a little
dad's got his
confused.
hand up, but yeah, you just contradicted yourself, kind of.
I
We're
think
just a
what I
little
said-
confused on.
I don't think I contradicted myself. I said I did not feel like I had enough information to advise you what you should do with that loose block. If you're going to repair the dam, you would need a notice of intent. If you're going to do any other kind of repairs to the dam, like if you're going to replace that block, or
That's why I asked him to just remove it.
or any other repairs to it, then you need a notice of intent, which is a type of application to us. So that's what I'm saying. If there's other work that you want to do to protect your home that involves ground disturbance, then you would need to have an application with us, which is called a notice of intent. What I mentioned on the site visit is that if you put up sandbags, the commission would not, I don't think, have any interest in a permit.
No,
requiring
okay, we're
a permit
getting
because-
sidetracked off of the
excuse
dam
me,
question. Though,
wait,
because-
excuse me, I'm still talking. If you want to put up sandbags without any ground disturbance, I don't see that as being something that we would require a permit for. I think everybody would agree with me on that's that would not be. But if you're wanting to put in a retaining wall or some other, I don't know what it would look like to protect your home or to divert water.
So can I remove the brick? You still are avoiding the question. Is it the town's problem? Are you going to have to send Steve out to remove it because it's a safety problem, or can I just go out there and remove it myself because it is a safety problem?
So it sounds like it's already loose. And so I would say if you want to remove it, you can remove it. But if you're
Thank
going to
you.
do any work to repair it, then I would say you need an application.
That's fine. I'll just go out there and take it out so nobody can fall and trip on it or try to step on it and then they fall in the pond or
Sure.
down the culvert.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Miriam, I
ready.
just have a quick question about the beaver deceiver and the waterway itself. Who is responsible for clearing that up and making sure that it is functioning properly?
Steve's
So-
supposed to check it, but
So our home does not flood.
unless it's they already covered it.
I think that's something, a conversation you should have with the town, the highway department, not us.
He already,
Okay.
Mary David said that they should just periodically check it because it's the time of year with the erosion control. They already discussed it earlier.
So our highway superintendent, Steve Sullivan, is here on the call. So, here's an opportunity if you want to ask him a question. I think Steve would be the person to direct that question to.
No, they already talked about it. You guys already talked about it. I already heard it. So I don't know you. But
Okay.
I know Steve had his hand raised, so I would that's where, if anything, let him speak to you. So you answered my question. I can remove the brick. Thank you.
Okay.
Safety concern.
Okay. All right. Can we move on? Are we good?
Yes.
All right. So new bylaw development. So we're meeting on November 15th, which is a Wednesday, 6 o'clock. And I'm going to do a couple of things to kind of help frame our discussion for that night and structure. One is, and I actually just sent it all to you earlier, I made a comparison document where I took our current bylaw section by section and then compared it to the MACC model bylaw so that you could get, and I kind of color coded it so you could see which sections are pretty much the same language and which sections differ. And I'd like to recommend that the commission read that through so that you're familiar with what the differences are, so we can have a fruitful discussion about that. And then what I was going to do, I haven't done it yet, is to take the draft bylaw and do the same thing, have a comparison with the MACC model bylaw so that you can see which language is directly from the MACC model bylaw and which is language that is in addition to that. So, just as an FYI, the model bylaw was produced about 15 years ago, and there's been new case law and evolving standards in the last 15 years. So MACC has come out with recommendations that they have put up on a website called Climate Resilient something, or Climate Smart Solutions, I think it was, through the Nashua River Alliance or Coalition. And there's a link to that website on our bylaw website if you want to look at that language, but they basically go through a series of recommended fixes to the MACC model bylaw to update it and make it more reflective of current thinking in terms of climate change and wetlands protection for climate change. So I'll give you a highlighted version, and I can put those two up on our website as well, so that if anybody from the public wants to look at them. How's that sound?
Good.
Sounds great.
All right. If you have any recommendations for different ways to format it to make it easier or more informative before I put it up on the website, I've already sent it to you. I really would like you guys to read it carefully. I think it'll make it very clear, what's in our current bylaw and what is the MACC model and how they diverge. And what is interesting about it is that there isn't a lot of divergence. I mean, a lot of our current bylaw is verbatim what MACC is still recommending.
Yeah, I was impressed by that because I gave a quick peek when you sent it today, and it was like almost the whole thing is the green, which is what's the same.
Yes. I mean, there are some changes. Some of them are enhancements. They're not like this section's no longer valid, therefore here's a new language. There's some kind of enhancements. There are a few places where there really are kind of corrections, if you will, to parts that are no longer kind of, best practices. So one of my questions, and I think this is for a discussion for us for when we meet in November, is looking at these two documents, I think we should decide what the best path forward is. Do we want to adopt a new bylaw or recommend to the town that they adopt a new bylaw, which is like the whole bylaw? Or do we want to recommend amendments in areas where there are these enhancements or where the language really would be better substituted? I don't have an answer to that, but I think that's a reasonable question. Towns routinely amend their bylaws, and you can insert and replace paragraphs at a town meeting warrant. So you don't have to have a whole new bylaw. You can amend it, or if we think that substituting for a new bylaw is the best way to go, then we should be looking at, what our recommendations are.
Yeah, I think as we go through it, we'll decide which way to go with that. But yeah, I agree. If the changes end up being, sort of minimal, I guess, compared to the rest, the size of the document, then an amendment makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to be continued, but I will please look at that document if you have suggestions, if it's not clear. One thing as an FYI, it's a table, and then it's in Word, and there are some comments in Word. And I don't know if whatever program you're using to look at it, but if you can't see the comments, I'll print the comments and send them to you. So make sure you can see the comments when you look at it. Okay. Yeah, Mary.
So just the select board at their last meeting was making a motion to have a special town meeting in January. And they have a couple things to put on it, but one of the things they wanted to put on it was the bylaws. So that's a time frame that they're working on.
Did they have a date? Like when in January?
They had to get in touch with the moderator first and pick a date and see what they were going to do to do it. But that was their recommendation, to have the meeting in January for a couple of different reasons, but particularly to get the bylaw on the agenda.
Mm.
So I'm sure before we meet again, you'll hear more about that, but just, it's the timeline for when we might want to have public meetings is probably a little different.
I feel like we really, based on our experience with the regulations, I'd really like to recommend that we have 2 public hearings, because what I think happened last time is we had a public hearing and then people had more questions, and, people who didn't come to the first public hearing heard about it and wanted to participate and asked for a second public hearing. So I think that, having 2 public hearings gives people more opportunity to get involved. And I feel like with a bylaw in particular, having opportunity for the public to have input into it before we make a recommendation for what goes into the warrant. What we want is to have the public hearing before we send something on to the select board to put onto the warrant, so that, if we want to make any changes based on the public hearings, that we can do that.
So my suggestion is just to think about, and again, we don't need to decide today. I think instead of having a COMCOM meeting in December, I think we should have a public hearing, either 1 or 2 early in the month, So in place of our COMCOM meeting, which usually we skip a month someplace anyways.
We never skip a month.
To do.
I think we have a hearing already.
As a committee, you can take a month and not have meetings for 1 month.
Well, the CONCOM traditionally has gone to just 1 meeting a month, November, December, January, February, instead of 2 meetings. That was the change.
That's how they did it. So my suggestion would
let me just throw a couple things in here. One is we have a public hearing scheduled for our December meeting, so we can't change that. 2, if we get an application, we have to open the public hearing within 21 days. That is law. So we have to make sure we meet within 21 days of getting an application. So we can't skip a month if there are any applications pending. If we get any new applications, we would have to meet because we have to open the public hearing. That's
Yeah, but we could try not to have any other business on those days, so that we could do, if we had to do business from 7 to 8 and have a public hearing from 8 to 9,
we could do that.
rather than a whole meeting. I'm just trying to
Yep.
substitute pieces of it so that we could get one in, and then if we felt we wanted to have two, we could try to have two, you know,
Okay.
squeeze it in
We
there.
also have to, I mean, we have to also get a legal review. So what we have to do is we need to settle on what document or edits we want to make. Bless you.
Bless you.
Excuse me.
And then we need to get a legal review. And then we need to have a public hearing. It doesn't make any sense to have a public hearing before we've had the legal review, because we want the public to be commenting on whatever we're considering to be the path forward. So
Agree, but I think in our meeting in November, we need to decide these things. So if we need to
okay.
do all that you have between our meeting in November, the month of December, even the first couple weeks in January, but I wouldn't want to push it that far, but it's just to let people know to start thinking about what we
Well,
might
I'm
want to do.
certainly, willing to work on trying to fit within that time frame, but I also feel like if it doesn't work out and we feel like we need more time, we have the option of going to annual town meeting. And I think there's some benefits to that because, that was the recommendation of Attorney McGregor, that a big bylaw like this usually would get reviewed at an annual town meeting where you get more voter participation and there'd be more time leading up to it to have public meetings. The other piece of this is that usually when you're getting a new bylaw, you get input from different boards. So we need to also figure out what kind of comments or structure we want to get from other boards in town.
And I was just thinking, I mean, if it's, I haven't looked at the bylaw, but if it's really that similar and there's not that many changes, it's not going to be as complicated as our regulations, and especially if we're looking at more adjustment to it. Like I said, I'm just throwing it out. So before we get to the meeting, we have all these things to think about what we need to do and what else we need to do. So people
Okay.
at that meeting, we could decide those things, but
Okay.
heads up to everybody to think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the plan will be that we're going to be on the 15th. I'm hoping that Janice can go. I haven't gotten a confirmation from her, but I did invite her. So I'm hoping that she'll be able to participate as well. All right. So let's move on and do, Mary, you did a site visit today at 585.
Yes. So 585 Wendell.
Yep.
And it's a permit for his well. The well is almost 200 feet from where the wetlands are. So if they actually moved it way back up in the corner. So I don't think it should be any problem for them to do it where the well guy is actually helping him propose to do it. So
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I missed that one. I meant to be there, but I just couldn't get there.
yeah, blew me off.
All right.
Yeah,
So
he asked, so I told him, "Oh, I'm sure you're still at work. Yeah, must have had something come up." So
Yes.
okay, so site visit scheduling. And I'd like to kind of get this ironed out today, tonight, if we can. So we need to go to, let me just go through these. We got Pratt Corner Road and January Hills Road. And then we have Lotto 32. We need to go to. And then the other one is that every year we're supposed to do a conservation restriction monitoring visit at Old Peach Orchard because we hold the CR. So we're responsible for the monitoring for that CR. And we're a little bit behind on this because ideally what you want to do is alternate seasons and do one year in the spring and 1 year in the fall. The last year we did ours in October, but So we're gonna need to just work with what we have. So I did reach out to Penny Jakes about it to find out when they might when the residents from the homeowners association would like to take us on the visit, the walk. But I'd like to see when we can schedule that. You know,
Well, which ones can we combine? Which ones are sort of short? and
Well,
we can
I
make-
think I think Pratt Corner Road, January Hills Road, and Lotto 32 are going to be short.
Good.
But I'm probably going to need, I don't know that we can do those this weekend. I mean, I might be able to arrange it if you guys really wanted to do them this weekend. Is this weekend an option?
I'm not available this weekend.
No,
And
So,
I'm gone for the next 2 weeks. I leave
Yes.
tomorrow and I'm just gone for 2 weeks.
right. So, Beth, do you want to be what do you want to do, Beth? Do you want to be a part of this?
I mean, it doesn't matter. I don't, with site visits, if you guys can do them other times, because I have, limited time, then that's fine with me.
Well,
But the
I'll tell
peach
you,
orchard is too much walking for me, so that needs to be some of that. I think separate from the others, so.
Beth, how would you feel about doing Peach Orchard then? We could schedule that.
Yeah, sure.
Would you be able to do not maybe next weekend, the weekend of the 4th, 5th? Could you do a weekend? It doesn't take that long.
Well, yes, can we do it? It's just better for me to do it after work. Because my weekends just get booked up.
I don't know how dark it is at 3:30, 4 o'clock to go hiking.
It's usually fine now, still till like 5:30,
Okay,
6 or so.
so do you want to give me a couple dates when you'd be available then? And I can try to schedule it.
Or how about next Thursday, the 2nd?
Okay, November 2nd, and what time?
3:45 works for me.
3:45. Okay. All right, let's shoot for that. We only need one resident to join us, so it shouldn't be that hard, I think, to schedule with them. All right, so that'll be that. And Mary, how about 678 and 27 January Hills and Lotto 32? Do you want to pick a date and then I'll try to schedule them for next week?
Think only Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe. Either
Okay.
Tuesday or Wednesday.
All right, I would well, we could do in the morning. I could do morning on Wednesday, or I could do Tuesday afternoon. Want to go for Tuesday afternoon?
Yeah, either's fine.
Okay, I will let them know, and then I'll give you a time, probably 1 o'clock, let's say, but I'll give you the itinerary where we'll start. All right, so we got all that. Just a chair update. I went through with Carrie looking at some of the outstanding orders of conditions that have been issued in the last 2 or 3 years, just to follow up with landowners, because we want to kind of give people a tickler about getting their certificates of compliance before the projects get really old and makes it harder to do the inspections. So I did send out emails to the owners for 32 Lake Drive, 26 Lake Drive, and 31 Lakeview Road, as well as 56 North Laurel Drive. So those 4. And a couple of them were supposed to schedule post-construction site visits within 30 days of the completion of the project. So there are some outstanding pieces to the orders of conditions for a couple of those.
So Carrie, do you have a worksheet for these like you do for the ZBA and, you know, that has the process written down that would have a
No.
tickler to remind us?
No, it's
We have
different.
a-
So for ZBA, it's kind of like there is no follow-up after a permit, whereas Conservation Commission has a lot more follow-up afterwards, and I don't really have a list because a lot of the time, NOIs don't have the exact same conditions afterwards or any kind of follow-up. There is like a handful that are very similar, but not all of them apply.
We started developing a worksheet, a spreadsheet, Mary, where we were going to track that, and you know, just kind of didn't get maintained in the last year. But the good news is that we don't have a lot of NOIs, so it's not that hard to look them up and figure out which ones are outstanding. So I went back to early 2020 and looked at all the NOIs that have been issued, because all of those would have expired by now. And so that's where I got this list of the 4 that I mentioned.
I was just thinking, since Carrie's going to be leaving, if there was a way to set up something that would help the new person help us keep track of that might be something we could do.
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet. What I said is we have a spreadsheet that we put together, and it's a shared spreadsheet that she and I both have access to. It just, we hadn't been maintaining it to track when people had turned in the things they needed to turn in. And you know, genuinely, you know, I think that there's some areas where maybe we need to do some improvement, but there are pieces that people are not following through with in a timely way. So, and I think that we need to look at that. For example, making sure that the orders of conditions are recorded properly, and that we get confirmation that they're recorded. And when I looked through these, I actually saw that one of the NOIs for 64 Cushman Road hadn't recorded their permit properly. So that was also on the list. So, you know, we ask applicants to send a letter of acknowledgement saying that they've read their conditions, and I don't think we get them consistently, do we?
I wouldn't say that we get them like consistently, but we do have them here and there. And anytime we receive mail, I always scan it and send it to you.
Right.
I will say, I think with this new system, I think it will work a lot better. I was trying to do a larger spreadsheet in the beginning where I kind of followed the process from beginning to end. And me and Miriam decided that it'd be a lot easier to divide that into one where developing the permit, getting the permit is on one sheet. And then the other one is after the permit is sent out, what following steps need to happen.
Yes, so just people understand, I have a spreadsheet I maintain where I do this also for the annual reports, where I track all the applications. All the applications, when they come in, when we open the public hearings, when we close the public hearings, what orders get issued and when they expire. So I've got all that, and also the dates of when we do any site visits, because all of that information we need for the annual report. So that's in one spreadsheet, and I do it by fiscal year. So Carrie has put together a separate spreadsheet, which is just following up for NOIs and for orders of conditions where there's things that they needed to get to for us. You know, if there needed to be a post-construction or a pre-construction site visit, things like that. Approve erosion controls, et cetera. So, and so now we both, Carrie and I, have access to those 2 spreadsheets. Did you take a look at the spreadsheet that I shared with you, Carrie?
Yeah, I went through it briefly. I'm not sure if I downloaded and put in Excel, because it said it was from fiscal year 2020 to 2024 or something like that. And I was having a hard time finding the newer ones, the newer
There's it's a different page. It's one
Oh.
document, but there's different tabs or different pages for each year.
Oh, okay, then yeah, that's definitely what I was missing. I'll have to go back and relook at that.
Okay. Yeah, rather than having separate documents, I just have it all in one document.
No,
with
that makes a lot of sense.
pages.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And sometimes they carry over from one fiscal year to another because
Yeah. Yeah, I
um,
just noticed that the ones I was looking at were the older ones, but I'm assuming it's because I was on the first page with the older ones and
Yeah.
not the newer one. So that makes sense.
okay, take a look and let me know if it's not clear.
Okay.
All right. So does that answer your question, Mary?
Yeah.
Okay. I used to do a lot of project management. When I was a clinical supervisor, I used to have staff where there would be lots of assessments that my staff were doing, and there'd be like time limits for when these reports had to be in and when certain things had to be done. And I basically had a spreadsheet where I programmed it with ticklers or pop-ups. I don't know if you know how you can actually program in Excel, so you get like a pop-up warning if you're, if 21 days has gone by and you haven't opened the public hearing, for example, or if 3 years have gone by and you haven't gotten your certificate of compliance, you could program it in different ways. So we could do that with these. I haven't.
Yeah, that sounds really helpful. I haven't learned
It's
anything
very
like that in
cool.
Excel, and yeah,
What?
no, I think that'd be incredibly helpful.
It is people don't often realize that with Excel, you can do some very powerful kind of programming. I know
Yeah.
it's a little wonky, but it's amazing when it works properly. It can be really, really helpful. Okay, I'll maybe my ample free time, I'll try to do that. Oh man. Okay. All right. I think that's it. I don't have anything else. Were there any public comments for tonight? No. Okay. All right. So we are meeting on the 15th, but our regularly scheduled meeting is on November 9th. Got some public hearings for that night. So somebody want to it's 8:44. Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
David,
Aye.
Defont, aye. Harrington,
I,
have a nice trip, Robin.
thank you.
And Wilson.
It's just, aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.
Good night.